Jacksonville, Florida. I just want to come on right quick because I just got some updates from California that I wanted to share with all my Startup Grind community people. I'm reading his email today from the founder of Startup Grind. I've learned a lot of startups, along with corporations, have been really impacted and infected by the global virus that we're dealing with around the country. So his email was very moving today. As you know, Startup Grind headquarters is based in Silicon Valley, where the global news has reported that they've had outbreaks and a lot of children sick. And we seeing things around the world where schools are closing and they're coming up with strategies and stuff how to still be able to have engagement. And I just want to let you know, as far as the Jacksonville chapter, I have been actively working since we learned about the virus, and we got a lot of the details when I went to Startup Grind Global in California because none of our directors from China could attend because of the virus, and it was disheartening because they really wanted to come, and they very somber because they feel responsible of this outbreak, and no one can take on that responsibility because a virus does not is not contained. It's no control of it. However, we can do our due diligence in controlling. According to the CDC, it's making sure we're doing our personal hygiene with our hand care, washing our hands, after we've conduct business and doors that we've touched. And even when we come home and, people we've been around to make sure we're doing our extra due diligence of keep with sanitation practices and using Lysol and things of that nature. But if you grew up like I grew up, we used a lot of old school methods. Vinegar helps with cleaning, Clorox help with sanitation and cleaning. So if you are allergic to those things, you need to, find you some alternatives where you can keep things safe for not just yourself but your family. But I wanted to come on as soon as I got through reading his email about the different nuggets and strategies because he was mentioning how a lot of major global conferences are canceling because of this virus, and some of the corporations have sent letters out on it's affecting them for us doing exporting and trade, especially if you do business with China. A lot of your products come from China, how to find alternative measures. And that's one of the adages I've heard for a while in business, is not putting all your eggs in one basket. So I just want to let you know, Startup Grind community, not just Jacksonville, but globally, we are strategically working all ways, trying to find ways where we can help startups, business owners, entrepreneurs, and self-employed, where you all still can conduct business and generate revenue without taking a total direct impact or getting shut down from doing business at all. So I wanted to share these nuggets with you, which is five of them. When you're doing your when you're considering shifting your in-person events to a virtual event, make sure you always communicating with your audience and letting them know that you still want us to have the engagement, but because of everybody different perspectives and beliefs about the virus, that you want to go to a viral platform. So that means you're going to have a lot of engagement with your audience. You got to make sure you have a strong customer relationship management system where you're communicating with them, keeping abreast and of those things, so your event doesn't die. You don't lose money for everything that you'd invested in. And then also, he also encouraged us to be in creative, creating, different ways to come up with to engage your community, even online. Even though it's necessary, we have to have that physical contact because everybody does not is not on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, WhatsApp app, all these different communication tools online and on our mobile devices. A lot of people does not use them. They are all for direct contact. So one of the suggestions I thought of for those that's not a big social media user or digital user is doing a conference call event where you can have conference calls to engage with your community. I know Free Conference Call is one, and there's several other platforms that you can consider. I would research, what works for your community, your area, and your budget. So that way you can do conference calls in addition to your live streams. But that way, your you're not leaving no one left out where it's concerning your event and meetings and workshops or things of that nature. You just have to really be creative and think outside of the box. um Next, all if you have partners and sponsors, make sure you're communicating with them, letting them know that because those funds has been already allocated, offer them reassurance instead of refunding back what they donated to you, that you're going to make sure they get more exposure, more value. So that's where you need to start partnering with your local radio stations, podcast channels, probably creating your podcast, and transfer that sponsor and partnership exposure at in the intro and the exit of your podcast, the YouTube live streaming. LinkedIn now you can live stream. You got live streaming on Facebook. You have IGTV on Instagram. So shift your sponsorships and your partners' exposures to those platforms, which it will reach more people. iHeartMedia, they have the monthly viewer listeners of 274 million, and then look at the demographics and the statistics and use that to help your partners and sponsors show not only they will get the local exposure, but they will get the global exposure as well, especially when you're using your stories on all of those social media platforms. Again, you have the free conference call line for those that does not engage on social media that much. You have email marketing communication where you can do pre-recorded events and you can send it out that way, so you can be able to get the experience. There are also some different companies that offer live stream and event ticketing simultaneously. So if you're selling live tickets for face to face and many people won't show, get offer them the live stream option. So but you're gonna have to make sure you have a team to be able to communicate with those on live stream. So if they tell you they can't hear, they can't see, you got somebody manning it and taking care of them and not just collecting the money. You want to make sure you're giving value, even though you're moving from a person to person engagement to a virtual engagement. Make sure they get just as much value as if they were in the room with you. Then the next thing he said, and final, the number fifth thing, is to stay ahead of it. That's where you're gonna have to really pay attention to the news, get the update alerts. Twitter, to me, gives you most of the real time information for as data is concerned, as well as social media. But you need to verify and make sure you're getting it from a viable source, so you can make sure you need to know how to pivot. So if one door closed, if you got guests coming in out of town, speakers coming in out of town, out of the country to speak, but they're concerned about the virus or the government has put restrictions on travel, then you offer that virtual option for your speakers where they still can be in the room virtually, where your local community can still benefit from their expertise, and your sponsors and partners are getting that exposure. So make sure that you staying ahead of the game. So this is Teresa Gamble. I'm the chapter director of Startup Grind Jacksonville. I want to come on and do this live after reading this very passionate email from my founder from Startup Grind on how our chapter, how Startup Grind, not just Jacksonville, but globally, is doing everything possible with these 5 nuggets to help startups be able to be effective. Remember to sign up on our website at startupgrind.com/Jacksonville to join the chapter for free. You need to register for our upcoming event March 26th. We're working with our venue now to make sure they are in compliance and there's no issues. If there is an issue, we will offer a live stream option for you all to be able to still get the knowledge and content. We are still offering the Startup Grind Accelerator opportunity to pitch in the global conference in September. We're not sure is it we still gonna be able to go to Europe in September. That may be a live streaming event as well. It just depends. So that's why I wanted to get on here and just be hopeful and be prayerful for all of the startups and entrepreneurs at any level, at any phase, that you don't have to shut down and do business. You don't give up hope. You still do what you do, but you just gonna have to do it different. This is what you call pivoting. This virus is forcing a lot of people in business to pivot, to get outside of their comfort zone, their regular routine, and do something virtually to still engage their customers, their clients, their future clients, their partners, their vendors, their sponsors. You're gonna have to do things a little different. And I've been saying the last couple of weeks, in order to grow, it requires an investment. So you need to look at what you're spending money on and revenue on, and see how you can redirect those funds to have the virtual exposure so you can stay relevant in your industry, relevant in your community, and still provide value to your customers, partners, employees, as well as sponsors. So please feel free to register, join. I encourage you to share this video of these 5 nuggets that the founder of Startup Grind just shared with us earlier today, because he's in Silicon Valley and they have been greatly impacted, as well as some of my co-directors around the globe who are dealing with this crisis that having it much worse than we are. So I'm very thankful and prayerful, not just for us, but I'm also praying and lifting them up as well. Prayer works. So if everybody come together and pray to navigate and get through this process where we have more of a gain than a loss, then we will come out successful. But I just want to encourage all the startups, all the entrepreneurs, to share this video, get the 5 tips. The 5 tips is, when you're shifting from an in-person event to a virtual event, make sure you're communicating with everybody, your attendees, your sponsors, your speakers, your third party vendors that's helping out, as you shifting everything virtually, and see how you can promote them. If your sponsors and vendors are providing products and services, see if they can offer digital gift bags, some kind of way that you still can give your audience the same experience on what you're promoting for your event to be. Also, be creative, to build your community in the virtual space. That take education, that take training. And if you need assistance in that, the Startup Grind Jacksonville chapter has resources, as well as myself and my business, CRPC Consultant, to connect you with those experts to get the training, to make sure it's very affordable and user friendly, and for you to execute once you learn the information how to navigate. Also, be proactive, not reactive. Don't sit back and wait for somebody to tell you to do something or respond after something happens. You need to stay ahead of the game. That's where your standard operating procedures come in, your crisis management, your risk management procedures come in, so you can be able to pivot when these announcements come from the government, the CDC, the entrepreneur ecosystem. Make sure you're staying abreast, and make sure you informing your clients so they still be able to can stay connected with you and engage, where you're not losing revenue, you're still sustaining and increasing revenue. Then the fourth one, try not to do refunds, because you already had expenses allocated. Offer them something else, either attendees credit to a next event, or if it's not a credit to the next event, offer them, some swag or something to reassure them, because you already have those funds allocated. This goes for your sponsors and your partners as well. Find ways to promote and advertise their brand on a bigger stage. In Startup Grind, we have a newsletter. It goes out globally to 3.5 million startups around the world in 125 countries. That's one way. I have the partnership with iHeartMedia. That's 274 monthly listeners. So there's a way to get your brand and your product and services out, being mentioned on these platforms. So don't be so quick to offer refunds. Talk to them, negotiate with them first, how other options that you have to still give them the exposure that you promised in your memorandum of understanding when they sign up with you. And last but not least, stay ahead of the game. Stay informed. Stay listening to viable news sources. Sign up for alert updates from the CDC. Sign up for alert updates with your the Global Chamber of Commerce, with the international trade, with export and import, and those that deal with products, so you know how to navigate and pivot as an entrepreneur. So I just wanted to hop on today, speak with you, and share these valuable 5 nuggets that the founder of Startup Grind has shared with all of us as directors, because we want to continue to serve and provide value where we educate, inspire, and connect. This is your chapter director, Teresa Gamble, from the Startup Grind Jacksonville, Florida chapter in the United States of America. I send peace and love to all my directors around the globe, all the startups, all the entrepreneurs. I am constantly praying for us as we go through this process, that we do not take a severe hit where our business at a standstill, that we continue to grow from and learn from this process. So I love you to life. I'll see you soon. Take care.